Hello, everyone. My name is Alejandro Macias. Welcome to Presa House and my exhibition, Hidden in Plain Sight. A lot of this work addresses many of my social political trepidations, deals with identity, my bicultural experience as a Mexican American, and in this show I also began to scratch the surface of the migrant struggle and obstacles that lead to migrant death. When you initially come into the space, one of the works is called Hidden in Plain Sight, and that is meant to not only document my identity as a Mexican American, but also my transition from Texas to Arizona, and how that has affected the work that I'm currently making, and how I navigate in a different climate and different terrain and landscape. Many of these works, with the exception for a couple of works, were done between 2019 and 2020. The reason the show is titled Hidden in Plain Sight is because many of the topics and issues that I'm navigating around in this work are issues that can be potentially dismissed, forgotten, or erased by people within American society. But regardless if they're forgotten or dismissed, they're important issues that I feel that should be mentioned or talked about. And although they may be forgotten or dismissed, they still exist. So I thought it was important to be able to bring them into this exhibition and talk about them. Also, in certain cases, you'll see how I respond to the pandemic and how I'm functioning as an artist during a pandemic, and how my thought process and studio practice has changed. In the Battle for 2020, for example, I talk about using the Raft of the Medusa by Jared Called as a way to talk about how I see 2020 as this kind of chaotic and year. You know, the death of Kobe was something that kind of triggered the year, and not necessarily glorifying the figure, but as a way to talk about how it affected many people that were involved with sports and weren't involved in sports. And then the shortage of toilet paper, and also how Trump wasn't necessarily responding to the pandemic, and then he had to. And so he's watching chaos ensue on a tiny raft. Many of the works also are a response to migration. I'm using my grandparents as well we have arrived here long ago, and using the term alien as a very dehumanizing term, and painting them green to talk about them as if they were aliens, talking to one another from a distant world. And so that's why I've included a backdrop of the stars behind them. Throughout the space, you also see 9 different works that are 8 by 10. And so those works are more of works that also lend themselves to experimentation. A lot of these works, the early ones started in 2017, and some of them I finished in 2020. And so I wanted to use these 8 by 10 works as a way to address specific thoughts, but also use them as a way to experiment with my technique and media. You'll see also some division incorporated into some of the works. I am also a fan of trying to exaggerate certain features. I try not to limit myself to a certain style, and not only are some of the works also personal, but I'm responding to the migrant experience in Texas and Arizona. The work that's titled The Water That Divides and Consumes is about a father and daughter who passed tragically crossing the Rio Grande River into Brownsville, Texas. And the image went viral, but I kind of used that image again and I render it, but then put like a water the representation in water and how it's incorporated in such a naive way as a way to solidify how this child's life or potential life in the U.S. was taken away. As you enter this space, the first work you'll see is called Nopal en la Frente, and this is the kind of second rendition that I've done of this image. You'll see me, it's a self-portrait, and on the bottom, from the neck down, I'm rendered in a realistic fashion with graphite, and then I use the top above the work as a way to paint a abstract nopal. This is a term that I often heard coming from my mother, and again, it's me talking about the assimilation process and talking about how she saw some sort of transformative process happening, and she was aware of it, and she was conscious of it, and she would say, "Tienes un nopal en la frente," as a way to talk about even, you can run from it, you can try to escape from it, but you are what you are. Again, I just want to thank Presa House for giving me the space to be able to talk about these issues and to a broader audience, and I appreciate everything that you've done for me and this work. Thank you.